Welcome, dear readers, to cover review, but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
And we find ourselves once more amid the towering stacks of your library where... I want to start by apologizing for the incidents, Kay.
Which one in particular?
All of them. It's been a weird week. You gave me the library card.
I did
last week as a celebration of my 20th week.
Absolutely. I haven't received any undue reports, but go on.
No overdue reports. No, certainly. I haven't actually checked out any books because I haven't left the library.
It's not that kind of library card.
No,
it's like
exactly.
A badge.
Yes, and it's given me access to some areas that I haven't previously. Okay, some of them I have previously explored, but that was via the air vents, and the less said about that, the better. You really need to have those cleaned, by the way. The gnomes,
I think you already did. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. But I think I'm saving the gnomes some work here. No, I'm talking about specifically in what you call the cafeteria. I mean, your kitchen. I did make a bit of a mess there because.
Oh dear. Do I have to re-season my cast iron cookware? You didn't put it in the dishwasher, did you?
I thought I'd made such a mess of it that I wanted to clean up for you, and I think I made it worse.
Oh.
It came from a good place, because I noticed that your kitchen is very clean and very well organized, and it was so clean and well organized. Are you sure it was
my kitchen?
I'm never sure. I'm not sure about anything. This is a strange place where I find myself in.
It is a bit, but...
But when I saw it, and it was so different from the towering stacks of the library that have been my home for the last month?
20 weeks.
21 weeks. That's how many months? 5.
Yeah, 5 months.
Has it been 5 already?
Yes, it's ridiculous.
It can't possibly have been 5 months.
It has to be 5 months. It says so on the calendar. The calendar is never wrong.
No, hold on. Canonically, yes, calendars can be wrong. They can disagree with each other. So I've got you there. But
well, okay, we. Oh
shit! Yes, we're recording this in the past. That's what's confusing me. I was like, So, seeing all those gleaming surfaces, I got so excited for recreating that scene from Jurassic Park with the the
Velociraptors.
The Velociraptors, of course, is what they are.
Yes.
Not the fanciful imaginary dinosaur, not the real life creatures that inhabit your library, one of whom I've befriended.
How's she doing?
Not really on speaking terms at the moment because of the incident. I mean,
yes.
I thought she was a good sport in corralling some of her relatives and friends in joining us in recreating that scene where I played both of the children hiding from the Velociraptors.
They're like tiny. They're not very good at stomping.
A bit of a sizing issue, and I tried to overcompensate for that with just quantity, just sheer volume.
It's like the old one. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm on one side of duck-sized horses. You can just climb a ladder, and if it's a horse-sized duck,
you'd be in trouble.
Even if you get in a helicopter, fucker can fly. Yeah, it'll still come and get you.
No, I definitely agree. I'd much rather go for 100 duck-sized horses.
I don't see why it's a question even. It seems so obvious to me.
Yeah, no, I know. But
dozens and dozens of turkey-sized Velociraptors in the kitchen, and it just went. I mean, it went fine for about half an hour for the second or third take.
Yes.
It went all fine, and they were doing the thing where they blasted damp air from their nostrils onto the window. Yeah,
yes.
And they did what's it called? A bugling sound to summon each other. Like the choreography was great.
That's amazing.
I should show it to you sometimes.
Yes.
But then, like our crumb rolled out of, I think it was a bag of rice, and one of them started pecking at it, and then they started tearing at the bag of rice,
and then it turned into a big melee.
Yeah, it's like
feathers everywhere. I guess you can collect those and work on your...
Yeah, so that is going to contribute to phase 4 of my impersonation scheme.
Yes.
Long story short, we're out of food, and I say we this time because it is your kitchen as well.
How did they get into the freezers?
I tried to escape. And I got confused about the doors because of all the feathers, and I opened the wrong door.
You went into the walk-in freezer, and
you'd think that being cold-blooded that would put them off, but
there was some good eating there, and I guess that it's like I'll have to get another deer carcass to hang there.
So can I count on your forgiveness for this incident?
I won't hold it against you.
Thank you. Okay,
incident.
well, I'm just going to assume that is a blanket pardon for all the other incidents as well, and we can just cross that off the list and move on to this week's book. What do we have in store for our readers this week, Kay?
I mean... Okay. Right, yes. It's Christopher Anvil's Recipe for Chaos. Or maybe it's Prescription for Chaos. We don't know exactly what it could mean.
Yeah, it just says RX up there, the letters R and X, which does historically mean recipe.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Well, yes, a prescription or recipe, so yes.
Like in Dutch, a recept.
Which is also used in cooking.
It's one of those fun homonyms.
Yes, essentially, it's a way to prepare something.
You know your way around a kitchen a lot better than I do.
You seem to have made your way into the pantry.
Well, mostly performative. It was just for the one little skit that I wanted to do
Maple
with.
syrup on the walls is not good for the maple syrup stocks.
Do you remember the great maple syrup heist of, what was it, 2015?
Oh, God, yeah, this whole tanker full of the stuff, wasn't it?
No. Like a tanker ship. Like 1 million gallons.
That's a lot of the maple syrup.
Like, where do you store it? Whom do you sell it to?
Black market maple syrup? I don't know. The Vermont Underground? I don't know. It's like...
That's a different book. Oh, speaking of books, if you look at your device, you should be seeing this week's cover, and if not, check the show notes for a link.
So, Christopher Anvil's book was apparently edited by Eric Flint, and I must admit to not ever actually having heard of Mr. Flint. So
nobody pays attention to editors.
Name. Oh well, if he's specifically mentioned on the cover, so I suppose
I know, and that's very generous.
Yeah, well, that means he must have done a good job at it, or at least a very important job of it.
I'll let you in a little secret. Editing is kind of a thankless job, and you're not supposed to make a big thing out of how much work you put into editing a particular product.
Well, I'm assuming that maybe Mr. Anvil here maybe had a deadline for his book, and when the deadline rolled around, he just handed in a manuscript which was not publishable.
Yours now.
And then
you touched it last.
And then they went like, oh, well, we've got another author
Tough
on
shit,
our
Eric
books here
Flint.
that's not doing anything. Maybe he can salvage it. It's more like that Bain books would have done, you know?
Yeah, because this is one of their jams.
This is like clearly late 80s, early 90s science fiction.
It's a lovely throwback.
Yes.
Like it's sort of okay. To describe the cover, we have an angry, growly kitty man.
Yes.
In rather revealing space armor.
Yes.
In a sci-fi environment, he's got a big sci-fi gun, and he looks angry and growly.
Yes.
And it's sort of like Doom, you know, the original.
Very much so.
3D video game.
I noticed that he's a lynx because he's got tufty ears and he's got the tufty ears,
the cheek tufts and the spots.
Very long tail for a lynx. I mean, like that tail that you can see the tail coming out on the right. That's way too long for a lynx. No, that should be like, you know, nub stub tail type stuff.
Evolutionarily, how did that come about? Because the tail is such an important feature for cats, for maintaining balance, for like torquing into a turn.
You'd think that maybe the cold, it became too much of a heat sink, but it doesn't bother snow leopards.
They use it as a blanket.
It's definitely a peculiar.
I have a friend. I mentioned torquing into a turn because we're thinking of cheetahs, right? You've seen those in slow motion when they turn, like they swing the tail in the other direction to like mid step while the hind legs are in the air. They swing the tail over to just move their butt out to the side.
Like moves their center of gravity and.
And this friend of mine, he's an artist and he does anthropomorphic art, and he did a piece of an anthropomorphic feline, a competitive cyclist, doing like pulling into a turn with a tail straight out, doing the torque maneuver, which was such a cool detail.
I think I saw that piece.
Jonathan Vair Duncan, by the way, he's a very good artist.
Yes. So today's book.
Yes, our kitty man,
Bob, I believe he's called.
Well, Robert.
Well, yes. Bob.
Oh, yes. Bob. I should mention this was another recommendation from one of our readers at home. That was friend of the library, Old Pimes.
Yes.
Old_Pimes on Twitter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You had another lovely suggestion for it, which we did a fantastic book interview of, which was unfortunately eaten by technology. So,
really? I have no memory of that.
You have no memory of that? No. I guess that's going to end up on the cutting room floor then.
Well... And according to Old Pimes, he has this synopsis of this. A gang of rogue geneticists led by an anarchic pharmacist-cum-messiah-figure seek to turn the world order upside down by seeding the atmosphere with a pathogen that restructures human DNA to pull out animal traits. And Robert Katz, an early test subject, must find a way to stop them.
Good old Bob, or Robert as you will.
Yes.
I mean,
he starts off called Robert. He's Robert Katz.
And then it becomes Bob bobcat later but he's a lynx, not a bobcat. But
they're kissing cousins, aren't they? Hissing cousins.
Yeah, definitely. Except one is a leggy at-walker going across the snow, and the other one sits on top of cacti.
So the all-terrain armored troop carrier.
Have you ever seen a picture of Canadian lynxes walking across the snow? You can splice that into the Attack on Hoth scene. It's just it's grey. It's got a small head and it's got super long legs. It's the story starts with a shadowy cartel of people sitting on boardroom tables, looking across the world with jaundice. No, wait, I'm quoting him.
Yeah, I wonder who you're quoting there. It certainly hasn't come up before.
I just love the fact that they call themselves the Mediocre Society. It's kind of like a business meeting that they're having. It's like, how are we going to make sure that our profits are going to get up?
Yeah, because they're all just barely hanging in there.
Yes.
This is... I love how this upset our expectations. Traditional diabolical villains are haughty and they're arrogant and they claim to represent the excellence of the world and that all others are inferior. But these people consider themselves exactly middle of the road.
Yes, they're just a corporation and they've got they've.
It's very kind of Kurt Vonnegut.
So yes, we have the Mediocre Society who have been
more than mediocre,
who've been working very hard to try and corner the catnip market. And they finally managed to buy all the futures and managed to have the market cornered. And know their plans are going to come to fruition in about 6 to 9 months, when everybody else is going to realize that they've, through a combination of subsidiary organizations and shadow buyers, have managed to lay their hand on the entire
world supply of catnip.
Yes, this wasn't what wasn't supposed to happen. But
it's not a very high margin product, is it?
Not really. But they go okay, how are we going to salvage this?
Nor is it really essential, for certain toys. But even
no.
As I learned on this very podcast, not every cat is susceptible to catnip in the way that not every human tastes. Oh, what was it?
Like chicken?
No. Oh, not coriander.
Cilantro.
That's the one.
It's the same thing.
It's never mentioned. I thought it was a fun MacGuffin. It's never mentioned what they were actually looking for.
No. It's just like someone is gruesomely scapegoated for the whole.
Now that was a nice classic.
Absolutely.
Elimination scene,
dropping through the boardroom with trapdoors under the chairs, and
it is my very favorite.
Not quite a Shark Tank, but it's it does remind one of certain James Bond films where this
the classics.
Yes,
as is also classic in those scenes. Not only is someone eliminated, but somebody also steps up to the plate. Yes. That is our lead villain, Georges Linnaeus.
Oh yes,
who has a little plan. He has a little poorly funded side project that he's been working on that is a perfect candidate to turn this boondoggle into... I'm just going to wait for a pun to emerge. Boondoggle, there's something with dog. Something... turn this boondoggle into the dog's bollocks.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Well, that was a sort of 6.5 from the jury, just by the look of your face.
Yeah. George got I've got my little pet project.
Pet project is right. Yeah, very good.
Yes. Oh. What if we can make sure that the market for catnip is going to be as big as the market for weed? It's already legal. We don't have to.
Yeah, that's right.
There's no laws against it. So
it could be a captive market as long as people are more interested. That's also a thing that villains always do. They overstate their successes in the face of their superiors.
Yes.
And then afterwards they have to run back to their lab, where it turns out they are nowhere close to even their first success.
No. George immediately goes to find his technical lead on the project, who's in his laboratory. It's a old money scientist, or as in no money. It's like Archibald Douglas the 13th, yes?
That's not how you write 13 in Roman numerals.
Oh, yeah, it is.
No, you don't. You don't do the 10 and then you add the 5 and then subtract the 2. That's not how. Sure. No, it's not. You just do 3 eyes.
No, this looks better.
It doesn't look better. And now you have a note that says I did that intentionally. Honest. Why do you do this? This is an audio medium. Something must be done about this.
Archibald. He goes to talk to Archibald and goes so about this plan of ours, or how is it going? And Archibald, again, has the same problems as George does, which is, of course, overstating his achievements.
Yeah, everybody does that.
It's always the whole...
No, it's going swimmingly,
running theme in this book. And he's like, it's ready for testing. We just need to find ourselves a subject.
Whom they find in Robert Katz.
Yes.
it is the mediocre society, so their target is run-of-the-mill regular people, and he's just a regular Joe. I think he's an office worker, former like a linebacker back in his college days.
He's one of those people who works in the company that's the shell for Mr. Linnaeus's actual achievements.
The most average that they can find, and that's what the mediocre society likes. They like
absolutely
right down the middle of the road.
Because then we can get everybody to at least if it works on them, then it'll probably work on everybody.
So he's put through the process, and the process, of course, is called, and I like a bit of flair and drama, the Katzendämmerung. I told you I had one cat pun. This is it, the Katzendämmerung.
The damning of the cats. I mean, you're pretty damned if you get turned into a long-tailed lynx rather than a regular one.
So our mediocre man, Robert Katz, is approached.
So he gets a message from HR if he can please report in for a special conference and a assignment that he's going to get, and he gets a little bit nervous. There's half a chapter devoted to him getting out of bed in the morning and describing the drudge of his routine. It's like a little bit of the glory days gone by, his high school football career.
Something that a lot of us can relate to. I mean, I'm not an athlete by any means.
How he gets into work, how he goes about the drudge of his workday, and gets called into office where Mr. Linnaeus and Mr. Douglas XII are sitting eagerly looking in front.
See, it is confusing.
Oh, you're right, it's the 13th. So sorry about that, Douglas.
I can see it. Every time it's just confusing me.
Let's go with 13. By Archibald the 13th and Mr. Linnaeus. He gets asked if he wants to contribute to the company in a very important role and be on the forefront of science, and
because you want to be a doer. You want to move our company ahead. Like the company, I mean, they make like paper binder clips, right?
Yeah. It's who thinks
not
of
even
that?
paper
It's like,
clips.
No,
they always have to explain. It's the little sort of crocodile jaw, the munchy. What are they called? You know, those little. I don't even know if they have.
Those are paperclip removers.
No, you've got paper binder.
Staple removers. Right.
Staple removers, yeah. Yes. You know, it's an entirely different company. Oh. This is the exact conversation that he had with his last date that didn't go very well, because he spent the whole time just explaining the thing that, and he never has one with him, because who uses it for it?
No, nobody.
Anyway,
like,
hugely.
It's a front company.
Well, according to Archibald Douglas the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it right. Yeah. I'm on board.
Oh, you're good.
And Georges Linnaeus, they're cooking up a revolution in paper binder clip technology.
Yes, despite everybody, it's like everybody's going digital.
And would he like to focus test it? And as soon as he says, yeah, sure, they strap his arms to the chair that he's sitting on, and they put the electrodes on his temples, and they shave his chest, and like things move very, very rapidly.
Yeah, gets the blood pressure cuffs around his arms, his hands get bound down, he gets an IV poked into him.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
And throughout this all, he's curiously, like, cool with it. I mean, obviously a little bit miffed, but not...
Well, worried, but not
freaking out.
On, but it's not that bad.
And he's been through it before, hasn't he? It's something that comes up later, but this is not his first time in a human like experimental trial. He's bounced from these human trials from one to the other throughout his life since he first started doing them to pay his way through college after he busted his knee and his football scholarship.
Yes.
Oh, was it football? Yeah, that's right, linebacker. That's what I've said.
He went for football. Yeah.
And then several other stints. And then the previous place where he worked, he got randomly selected for, turns out, human experimentation, and that was him. And he reminded me of a character from, it's an obscure book. I'm pretty sure that you've never heard of it. It's called Es muss nicht immer Kaviar sein, a book that I know and you don't.
Who was that written by again?
Oh, some German... Oh, I see you looking it up. Yes, who was it written by?
Mr. Simmel.
Mr. Simmel. It means it doesn't always have to be caviar. Aside from having a feature that will come up in reference to the title of this week's book, it has its lead character is a spy, but has been a spy for basically every major organization in Europe.
Yes.
And then forced to be a double agent and then recruited by a different nation.
By the Germans to the French.
Everywhere where he wants to settle.
Against the English, for the English, against the French. Working with the Spanish. Yes.
And he just wants to...
I'm just reading from the summary here.
Yes, that you're reading because I know this book and you don't. But yeah, Robert Katz sort of reminded me of Thomas Leven. That was the name of this character in this book that I know. Wow.
Yes, fantastic book, isn't it? Like, tell me about it sometime.
Nope, that's it. That's all there is to it. Oh, he dies in the end.
Oh, yes.
Wink!
Everybody dies in the end.
No. The whole point is he will do one last mission, but only if he is allowed to die. And then his death is staged, and then he can finally chill out somewhere.
That's one of the things that happens in that book. So we get described the scene where our Robert gets turned into Bob.
Where he's subjected to the Katzendämmerung procedure. Lots of flashing lights, lots of smoke and
not
noise.
much happens when they're done. He gets hauled off to a
cell. I mean, just call it a cell.
It's dressed up as a hospital room, but it's a cell.
It's a cell. I mean, it's even in the basement, and there's a whole row of them.
I thought this was like the boiler room, but no.
Yeah, I thought this was all paper clamp clip storage for all the paper clamp clips that haven't been sold yet.
At this point, the story leaves Bob and cuts to another scene where there is a gathering of the Nepeta cartel.
They are the manufacturers of...
Literally, the catnip cartel.
Yes.
That's what the Nepeta means.
No, I remember that. I remember that from the episode about God's Fire.
Yeah. Turns out they have been playing the mediocre society.
Oh, that's right!
By basically trying to corner the catnip market.
Buying out all of their supply.
They know there's a crop failure coming, and they've just trying to offload the whole thing
because it's only the futures that the mediocre society has bought.
Yeah,
absolutely. Not the actual.
Yeah, and they've been playing them the entire time. So this is the second group of people who are playing the first group of people who think they are the players.
At this point, they're catching wind of the vastly overstated expectation of success of the Katzendämmerung
and they're wondering what's going on.
They're wondering what's going on, and they're worried about missing out on this opportunity.
Yeah, that they're going to leave the mediocre society holding the bag, so to speak. After we have this brief intermission with the Nepeta cartel,
who are worried about their strategy and whether they should
switch tactics, like double cross the mediocre society. Are we going to let them go ahead with this? It's like, this is good. Have we missed out on something? What are we going to do?
And there's a lovely little parallel where, like, they don't expect to be able to supply this surge in demand because of the bug that they're anticipating, and so they need a quick solution for that. They need to increase their production and not just meet those quotas that they already promised and never intended to fulfill, but also to exceed them in order to seize the opportunity before them.
Yeah.
And they have also a radical scientist among their ranks who stands up and has a plan that they announce is going to be very successful. We don't get into the details of that, but I kind of liked that it has this symmetry.
Do we already figure out at this point already who that is, or do we not run into him later in the book? I can't remember if he's already introduced in this scene.
The only note that I have with a name on it is Vigo the volleyball player, so that's probably not it.
Okay, in that case, Mr. Monty Finiston being the scientist.
There once was a man named Monty Finiston. He had whiskers on his Tinniston.
Is that an actual song? Or did you
no,
just make that up?
It's Michael Finnegan.
Ah, okay.
Wind came out and blew them in again. Poor old Michael Finnegan McGinnigan.
He is the man who's been inventing the underwear armor, which you can see Bob wearing on the front of the on the front of the book.
Yes, he has a Kevlar. He has armored. Jockstrap. By the way, did you notice the leather strap going around?
So there is. So he's been having a problem of his own as well, because his current batch of underwear armor has a manufacturing defect where there's a big hole in the back. And when he hears about cats, he's like, all my problems are solved. Like, we can offload this entire batch of mismanufactured armored underwear on the new Katz.
There's that symmetry again. The organization has a problem that they want to solve, and then one of their enthusiastic scientists solves it, creating an entirely different circumstance. And in this case as well, like, he can't help the Nepeta cartel produce more catnip, but he can help them profit from a different aspect of this. That's genius. And it is rather fetching. I mean, it
does.
I can imagine that it chafes, but.
Oh, yeah, especially with fur, man. That's going to leave bald spots on your thighs.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's nicely padded. Maybe it's got, like, internal cooling.
Oh, who knows?
Oh, that could be nice.
Yeah, it's not mentioned in the book, but it's like...
No, I'm just looking at it, like...
I get that.
Like right now, looking at it quite a lot, because it's got that leather buckled strap. No, continue. I'm just going to have a nice wee think about this.
Will you be in your bunk?
Yeah, I'll be in my bunk.
Back to Bob, who is in the throes of his transformation. His ears growing, his fur, his tail growing. That's a bit of an unpleasant moment. Your spine is suddenly growing a whole bunch of extra vertebrae. It doesn't happen that fast. I think it takes about a week or two. It's clearly not an instantaneous transformation thing.
No, and a lot of it is happening in transit to Mount Catamount, the secret base
in the Rocky Mountains,
because it had come to George Linnaeus's attention that security is not as tight as it ought to be. They've abandoned the front company for the security of Mount Catamount, where now the
retreat.
Where the various other test subjects of the Katzendämmerung process have also been
most of them have been buried there.
Quite a few, but since the breakthrough with Robert Katz,
yes,
a lot of others are in the process of refining the process even further, because obviously he was initially a fluke. This is how
come it suddenly works, and they try it out on someone else and it fails again, and they start comparing him.
Look at all the previous experiments that he's been through, trying to reproduce those,
and then it turns out that there's an interaction between one of the other medicines that he's been,
and then they can adjust their protocol. It's a lovely example of real scientific process.
Works. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's also a bit of mad scientists with holographic goggles and Professor Octopus like.
Dr. Octopus.
Dr. Octopus, that's the one. Yeah.
Prof. Ock just doesn't have the same ring
moving
to it.
Around. Moving around through the lab. I mean, that's where, Archibald Douglas the 13th turns out that where the 13th comes from.
Because he has 13 arms
when he's plugged into his rig.
Yeah.
He's all over the place.
He and, what did we say? Monty Finiston.
Monty Finiston, yes. He's
would probably get on famously because, Monty is...
He's more a hardware guy.
He would love to examine this and see how many groin tentacles he could add to his new manufacturing.
Crotch rockets and other
Yes, exactly.
Power armor specifically designed for the new Katz.
Because the goal, if that wasn't obvious to our readers at home, or to, in fact, us, for the Mediocre Society, is indeed to subject the whole world to the Katzendämmerung, a gene-altering pathogen.
Yeah, in order to get their...
to bring out animal...
demand.
Yes. Specifically feline animal traits, hopefully.
Yes.
Now it turns out the Katzendämmerung has been mostly producing felines, but not exclusively felines. That was the unfortunate case of Vigo the volleyballer, who was...
What did he turn into?
Who was brought in, and he turned into...
What are you looking for?
A turtle? No.
A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
There's nothing in view. How is there so many... Shit. It was an impala in the book. That's right. And what a missed opportunity to call him Vigo, the volleyballer, when he could have been Vlad the Impala.
Yes.
That would have been better.
Mr. Anvil hadn't thought of, and clearly Mr. Flint also hadn't decided to correct that, being the editor of the book.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
But nevertheless, the book proceeds well because Robert and Vigo, sadly not Vlad, encounter one another.
Yes.
And Vigo is in a bad way. The Katzendämmerung has affected him poorly, and he's not making it very well through his transformation, which is why he confides in Robert that he's a member of the Etterretningstjenesten.
How would you... That sounds Swedish.
Norwegian. Very good. That was the Norwegian Foreign Intelligence Agency.
Oh, okay.
He's a spy for the Etterretningstjenesten, who has infiltrated
and unfortunately got subjected to the Katzendämmerung process. Yes.
So he's begging Robert to report back to his government.
He knows he can't go back. I mean, with antlers like that, they're never going to let him on a plane because he'd be poking his horns into the dropping
Not to mention, as soon as he set foot in Norway, he'd be fair game.
Not if you go outside hunting season, so that'd be all right.
Do they have specific hunting?
They get taken to Monty's test lab to be fitted for the underwear armor that we see Bob wearing on the front cover.
This was a bit of a twist because I don't know whether it's George himself or whether it's via Archibald Douglas the 13th, but they're kind of in cahoots with Monty Finiston. Of course,
everybody is playing everybody.
The only ones that seem that's not even true. I mean, I was going to say the only ones who seem to be straight up are the other victims of Linnaeus's experimentation that Robert meets, but they are all spies. They're all of them. Every single one that Robert meets.
There's a guy from the Mossad,
from CIA, from the Deuxième Bureau, which still exists somehow in France. MI5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All of them. All of them.
Oh, yes.
The Mossad, the Shin Bet. Who else did they have?
AIVD.
That's one of them. That's great. Do we know any other ones? I knew that there was the Sistema Informação, there's Portuguese one. They are all spies, with the exception of Robert. Every single test subject
is a spy. It's like they've all managed to work themselves into the process of being selected.
And none of them have told each other, except for Robert. They all confide in... It's like... Oh, this is a joke that I saw on Twitter where someone proposed like a Big Brother style elimination dating game with a house full of house full of gay guys, where everyone gets eliminated. One secretly is a straight guy.
There's one straight guy, yes, and the idea is that the straight guy wins if he is one of the last two people
who is
left standing.
So he has to keep it secret. And the trick is they're all straight.
Yes,
every single one. So here we have. All of them are spies for different organizations, and none of them are able to report back. So they all depend on poor Robert, who's just trying to get by.
Yes.
And he's kind of okay with it.
Well, until he finds out what the plan is.
Of course.
Idea is to like spread this Katzendämmerung over the entire world. At which point he starts plotting his way out of there. Gets into Monty's good graces by being the perfect test subject for his underwear armor.
Let's be fair. Model. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like he's Abercrombie and fitching it up.
Oh, yeah, strutting it on the catwalk.
I thought this was a very relatable moment with Robert. He feels special, something that he hasn't done in a long time.
No, absolutely.
Since his halcyon days in
high school,
in high school football, he's not at the peak of his physical fitness anymore.
Although the whole
Katzendämmerung, so he's got a bit of spring in his step, and he's special. But the idea of now everyone being raised up to his level,
having gotten his way into Monty's good graces, he gets his privileges and manages to get his hands on the P2907 battle rifle, which you can see him. Wielding on the front
that
cover.
Is the needlessly elaborate.
That's just the artist going nuts to give it a futuristic rifle and make it look.
Well, what is it supposed to look like?
Described as a hypervelocity battle rifle. So yes, he goes basically on a rampage. He like makes short work of a few of the other.
This thing that was supposed to just be it's supposed to just be a prop for modeling his latest underwear armor, and then he cocks it. And he finds that it's loaded.
Like, oh, wait. And Monty being like the first one to feel the wrath, and he who lives by the sword dies by the battle rifle.
Is toasted in short order.
Yes. Archibald being the next victim.
Boom. And they're dropping like flies at this point. Like the security protocols in Mount Catamount are abysmal.
They're not geared towards a battle cat, so that's...
He's a battle cat. Yes, because this whole scene, this whole chapter was the cat fight.
Yes.
There we go.
It's
a really good old-fashioned, racing for
the control room
of the thermobaric weapon through which the Katzendämmerung was intended to be dispersed through the atmosphere.
The classic James Bond-esque bad guy is trying to put his plan into motion
and must be stopped
while our hero is fighting his way through the minions and
running through the hallways, and the structure comes down around them, and there's alarms blaring, but there's not like security doors shutting, none of those inconvenient impediments.
There's no mystical sigils popping up. There's no
giant ball rolling down.
There haven't been any golden statues being stolen anyway, so that's like
no poison-tipped flechettes flying out of the walls, and
none of that. Just like good old shoot 'em up in the corridors of the industrial complex.
Expect any of that? I didn't expect him to have to.
No, so why would there be?
Yeah,
why are we even talking about this?
Yeah, but there is no mu in the Greek alphabet.
Oh.
There's a double joke there because there is a letter mu in the Greek alphabet. Yeah.
So it's
fun jokes.
Basically
fun jokes for us all to enjoy.
Basically, good old Bob being the hero of the day,
and he stands up and he says, "Call me Bob," which as cool guy.
It's a bit of a
catchphrases go.
Guy.
Yeah,
it's not "I'll be back." It's not "See you at the party, Richter." It's not.
What else has Arnold Schwarzenegger said? No ticket.
No, wait, that was
Harrison Ford. You let me get away with that for so long.
It was the bad German accent, but it's
Austrian, obviously.
Oh yes.
Do you know he's not allowed to dub his own movies into German?
Because apparently he sounds like a farmer. Nothing wrong with farmers, mind you, but yeah, apparently he's got this horrible backwater accent.
Once again, not to be Germano-normative, that's just what it sounds like to people used to Hochdeutsch, obviously the Austrian dialect.
But even for Austrians.
So, yeah. Gerade zurück.
Oh, God.
I apologize.
Yes.
I apologize to our German readers at home.
This leaves the Mount Catamount complex in tatters. There's smoke coming out of the mountains.
Crumbling.
People in Denver are going like, I didn't know we had a volcano there. That's basically with Bob wandering off into the Rocky Mountains.
Standing amid the smouldering ruins.
Yes. The final scene being like paragraph by paragraph cut between the mediocre society and the Nepata cartel.
Yeah, both
of them sitting there going, what the fuck just happened?
Well,
and like, well, this sucks. Yeah.
And trying to like work back from, we know that whatever just happened is a disaster, but we don't fully understand why.
And how are we going to play this? How are we going to play?
Yeah. Because the only people who could explain it, Monty Finiston and George Linnaeus, are buried buried under the rubble. And none of these organizations knew exactly what they were up to.
They didn't know who was
what was supposed to happen.
No. I mean, the mediocre society knows that Linnaeus is gone, and our strong man is not here anymore. We need to like figure out what we're going to do with all these futures, and
we are no closer to a resolution.
No, we still got this like money invested in this project, and the cartel is got pretty much the same problem.
Over-invested into this underwear armor that not only has now been destroyed, but even if it wasn't, they still wouldn't be able to sell because it's got holes in the back.
Manufacturing defect, which would be great for the cat army, but not happening now.
It's just the one, and like, what's he going to do wandering out of the Rockies? I mean, his fur keeps him nice and warm, so he's not in any danger of exposure.
Especially not in summertime, but yeah.
Oh god, the shedding.
Tell me about it. Our little librarianess has gone into shedding mode.
I see her lying over there. Is that her, or is that just the fur she left behind when she got frightened and ran away?
Off to get food. Yeah. No, that's probably the fur that still hasn't settled yet.
That's her shadow.
Yes.
The Katzenschatten.
No, the Katzenschatten is something that happened in the litter box.
Oh, no! This would have been an opening for a sequel.
Right.
And then the sky opens, and obviously you remember the scene, right?
Oh, yeah. It's the classic UFO zooming in.
Yes, which would have been such a total deus ex machina, like a UFO appearing out of nowhere and casting its beam of light down on top of Bob's cat, and sucking him up and flying away with him, if it weren't for the fact that, as our loyal readers at home probably remember from episode 2.
Yes, this is a long time ago.
A long time ago, but hey, look at that continuity. Anne Logston wrote a book called Dagger's Point, where in our reading, we noticed that one of the heroes' spacecraft had a crew member called Bob.
Yes.
Whom we thought was like Ruraf, the protagonist, was a Lynx Tor.
Yes.
But in fact was possibly
this very Bob, taking pity on by the Lynx Tor, taking pity on this poor crippled
this bipedal
creature with like missing his hind leg set, and
their DNA scanners found an orphan left behind.
So he gets to live among, well, not exactly his kind, but at least they have hairball treatment.
They have treatments to regrow his supposedly lost limbs. So once again, human experimentation. We'll feel an experimentation in this
treatments. Right.
What did you say?
I said herbal treatments. Herbal.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's fine.
No, that's a solid 6.5.
Thank you. 6.5 is the new 3.2, isn't it? Bringing us to points, shall we get on with the scoring of the book?
Yes, I think this is the appropriate time. So how are we going to rate this book?
Oh, God.
Because I looked back at episode 2 to see what kind of rating we gave to that, but we weren't rating our books yet back then.
Dear
it was just the second episode. We were still we barely had our tagline. I barely knew how to introduce myself.
Yes. Oh, so let's give it a rating.
What's good cat number? Oh, we've done that before. No, we've done 9. God's Fire.
Yeah,
we did that one. So that was 9.
Yeah.
Oh, what about 13 or 17 or 12 plus 5
let's rate it 12 out of 13 because 13 out of 17.
13 out of 17. That's a solid 6.5.
There we go.
And speaking of reviews, to the readers at home, we love being your dirty little secret, but if you maybe leave a review or recommend Cover My Ass to a friend of yours, something magical might happen. Like, I mean, you might just grow a tail that you didn't expect before and tufty ears, and you might be sucked up by a UFO and taught how to brush your fur. And my God, what a wonderful experience that must have been the first time. So, yeah. Maybe
recommend it to your friends. If you had to suffer through it, make someone else suffer through it as well.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. And what do we have in store for our readers next time?
Right. Next week we have the breathtaking book by Ripa Goodwin, The Zen of Farting.
And that about covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed, but not read, by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay. And remember,
we only judge a book by its cover. We made it.
We did it.
Gloriously successful. We just stick to what we know and we get there.
Yes, absolutely.